What's up, everybody? I'm here today. My name is Mateen. You guys might know me, might not, but that's okay. I'm here to talk about the biggest mistake that every, or at least almost every filmmaker makes when they first start their business or their hobby. Now, I don't know if actually every filmmaker makes this mistake, but I know a lot of filmmakers, including myself, who have made this mistake or who are making this mistake, and it's pretty bad. And a lot of people don't realize that this mistake is happening or that they're doing this mistake, but it's a pretty big one, and if you don't realize it fast enough, it's pretty bad. I know I haven't mentioned the mistake. I'm purposely trying to build suspense. I don't know if it's working, but I just ended that. So the biggest mistake that any filmmaker could make is spending money on gear that they don't need at that specific moment. Here's the thing. Filmmaking is a very expensive hobby slash business. There's so many things you need, right? First you need a camera, then you need a lens. You might need a prime lens, a zoom lens. You'll also need a microphone. You'll also want an audio recorder just to get the best, the best audio. You'll need a gimbal, you need a slider, you'll need, like a monopod maybe. You'll need like 3 tripods, because you just need 3 tripods. Then you need a website, and you just need a bunch of stuff. There's so many things as a filmmaker that you need. But here's the thing. You don't actually need a lot of it. Now, mind you, there is some stuff that you will need and there's some stuff that you will really want. But figuring out the difference between those two is probably the most important yet the hardest task that you could do as a filmmaker. But there's a lot of filmmakers, probably every filmmaker has dealt with this, but a lot of filmmakers deal with this thing called gas. No, not that kind of gas. I mean, unless you do, I don't know. GAS stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome, and that's when you just see a new piece of gear and you feel like you absolutely need it because it's going to make your films absolutely great, and if you don't have that piece of gear, your films are going to suck and you're not going to get the jobs that you want. And I'm here to tell you that that is just absolutely not the case. There are some pieces of gear that you will use a lot, but there are a lot of pieces of things that you will buy for your business or your hobby that will just end up sitting in your apartment or your hotel and just collect dust. And see, the problem is with filmmaking is that there's always something new that's coming out, so you feel like you need to keep going ahead of the curve. So if, Sony releases a new camera, your camera just got outdated and you need to buy a new one. I'm not saying that's the case, that's just how a lot of people think. And because of that, they need to buy the next piece of equipment that's out there or the next new technology. But I think filmmaking comes down to figuring out your style and what your style needs. So if you're a filmmaker who uses a gimbal and a camera, that's great, but you don't need the rest of the gear that will be used by you. And even if you do, you could always rent it out for specific gigs. If your specific gig needs a slider, you could just rent it out for a day or two, try it out, see if it works, and worst case, you end up buying it. And now, a lot of you might be thinking at this point, well, I could just resell my gear if I don't really end up using it and just make a lot of that money back. And while that's partially true, it's also completely false. And I say this because I personally have just sold a lot of my stuff and ended up not getting the amount of money that I was really hoping to get. Because not only that, you're spending the time to post the ad out, you're waiting to hear from someone, and you're negotiating, and it's just a lot of back and forth, a lot of time that you're spending on this piece of gear. And the other thing that I think is important to mention is that in this business, there's a lot of things that come up that you don't realize that you need, but you absolutely need to get. Like, one thing for me is that I had to buy an office chair recently because the chair I was using that was just a dining room chair was not comfortable, and it was leading to a lot of injuries on my spine. So I had to, fork out a good amount of money to get a ridiculously ergonomic chair like this one. And, that stuff doesn't seem like things you need for your filmmaking business, but surprisingly, it is. So if you're starting out in this business, great, but what I would 100% suggest is to figure out what you need and figure out what you really want. And for the things that you really want, consider why you want them, maybe rent them out, try them out, see if it really fits into your arsenal, and if it does, buy it. But if it doesn't, you do not, and I repeat, you do not need it. I'm a filmmaker who doesn't work with a gimbal. You don't need a gimbal, but I know filmmakers who work with gimbals, who don't need, the gear that I use. The whole point is figuring out what your style is making your style the best that you can, and focusing on yourself as a filmmaker. And remember, just because another filmmaker has it does not mean you need it. And I'm only saying this to save you money, because I've spent a significant amount of money on gear that now I'm trying to get rid of. So if you are looking for some gear that you want to buy, hey, hit me. No, I'm totally kidding. I shouldn't advertise that here. But anyways, I hope you like this video, and if you like the message, please give this video a thumbs up. Please send this to any filmmakers or any creatives you know who are in the industry who are thinking about buying a lot of stuff, and hopefully this will stop them. If you like this video, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions or anything, whatever, just put it in the comments. And if you have any other topics that you want me to talk about, I don't mind. Comments. See you later.